Here again to bring you their best bets and expert picks for every game on this week's NFL schedule, it's the Green Men, brought to you by WSN.com.
Welcome to WSN's weekly NFL Pick'em show. It is time for week 16 of the NFL season. My name is Adam Forsythe, joined as always by Ryan Sullivan. If you're joining us for the first time this week, here is how this show works. Every single week, we are right here on WSN.com breaking down every single NFL game, the overs, the unders, the spreads, the money lines, some player props we like. We go through it each game by game and just kind of break everything down, and we have a great time.
We do. It's not too shabby. Last week, we had the Augusta Green going, and this week, in a tribute to the Black Hole, because football in Oakland, it's no more.
The last ever game in Oakland, as you hyped last week. And now we kind of move on to what is a very divisional heavy slate for week 16 of the NFL season. But before we get to that, we have to look back at last week's season because we kind of have to recap what we did last week, some of our best bets, our hits, our misses. Yeah. And I think, why don't you start it off, Ryan? What was your best bet last week and how did it do?
So speaking of Oakland, my best bet record...
And black holes.
Yeah, and the black hole has not been the greatest as of late. Oakland had it in the bag until the final few minutes, and then Gardner Minshew being Gardner Minshew. Anyways, yeah, as we know, Jacksonville took that game, so I did not do well in the best bet. However, I do want to say, because I've been sinking a little bit with the best bets over the past few weeks, but I've gone 14 of 18 in props for the last 4 weeks. 6 of 7, my last 7 DFS calls have gone off, have been fantastic. So it's not all bad. Oh. Except we are talking about best bets, and that has been bad.
Yeah, it's the best bet category.
Yeah, there is that. So yeah, a little bit ugly. How about yourself?
We'll get you back this week. I have faith. But for my best bet recap, I went with my favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, hitting Patered on the frozen tundra of Lambeau. Packers easily covering the 4.5-point spread against the Bears. As I said last week, Green Bay was going to utilize the sub-zero temperatures to their advantage. They pounded the ball on the ground. They mixed it a deep ball to Devontae Adams. A textbook win, a textbook best bet. My record improves to 6-2 over the last 8 weeks. Now, we also had some pretty good prop bets that hit. You're the prop master, as you just pointed out. So what were some of the props you hit, and what was your biggest miss of the week?
Yeah, they call me Carrot Top these days. You see the prop joke? Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad, right? Saquon went off well over 120 scrimmage yards, which I promised with a few touchdowns. Boston Scott went over 60 scrimmage yards, and the Eagles win and cover. Tampa Bay went in the over again. I believe you called that one as well. I mean, it's just becoming like easy money at this point with Jameis Winston there. And of course, my pride and joy, Mr. Michael Thomas, going well over 100 total. And Drew Brees hit 3 touchdowns as well. He hit 4 on the day, but I promised 2 or more, and he well cleared that. So outside of the best bets, it was a good week. I just want to emphasize, still a good week.
You've definitely utilized a lot of players. Like, follow Ryan's advice when he's throwing up player prop bets, because you've utilized pretty much the same players all season long, and
they're killing it.
They keep winning.
They're killing it.
I also had, I think, my best week of the WSN Pick'em show, because after being a little off for week 14, I was across the board pretty solid. I called the Texans upset win. I had a bounce back game for Sony Michel. Was loving a DK Metcalf touchdown. That cashed in. As Ryan just mentioned, I parlayed the over in the Bucs-Lions game, but I parlayed it with an over on Chris Godwin receptions. That hit. I also had a couple upsets for Buffalo and Jacksonville. So all in all, a pretty good Sunday. My biggest miss of the week, because all great weeks have a hiccup or two, would have been Atlanta upsetting San Fran, which I think pretty much everyone had. And then my biggest whiff is I love D.D. Westbrook. He was a complete no-show in the win over Oakland. I had him in a bunch of my daily fantasies, which killed me, but he was a relatively cheap option. So
Yeah, and 68% of the population, myself included, picked the Niners to win that game. So we're with you on that one.
Any misses for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the Niners, I mean, obviously Oakland, kind of oversees everything as far as the misses go, because I was pumped for that game, as I think everyone was in that Coliseum. It was rocking. And so very unfortunate there. But I'm going to turn things around. The franchise is turning around slowly but surely here, because the best bet this week, I'm feeling freaking safe with it. I'm feeling solid.
Freaking safe.
Freaking safe. I was debating the Seahawks, but at 9.5 points coming into this week, that's a tough spread. So I'm going KC over Chicago. Now, mind you, they're at Soldier Field. The spread is 5 points. The Chiefs have just been that damn good all year long, though, and they're playing at their, the top of their level right now. And the way I see it, I mean, this is really their last pump-up game before the playoffs, because obviously in the last week, they got nothing to play for at this point. They've got the division locked. Patrick Mahomes is going to sit. Or at the very least play one half tops in the final week. So in this game, this is kind of their last charge up before the postseason. So I'm taking Chiefs to win, Chiefs to cover.
All right, my best bet of the week is the 49ers to cover 6.5 points against the Rams. I just want to get my best bet out of the way this week, take in the Saturday game so I can sit back on Sunday, watch Ryan stress his best bets. It brings me a lot of enjoyment. I think after their worst loss of the season, San Fran returns to like all-star caliber levels right now. They have to prove a point to the Rams, and it's never fun to play a division rival. The 49ers are not ready to let the Seahawks walk away with the division title. It's definitely a statement game, and I think a win over LA will send a clear message on Sunday. So San Fran to cover the 6.5 point spread against the Rams, my best bet of the week. Now, before we get our predictions for week number 16, we want to hear from you. What was your wildest predictions for the upcoming week? Give us your wildest predictions for week 16. We will discuss the top comments in next week's video, and be sure to like and subscribe for all our weekly NFL predictions and breakdowns. Last week, we had a few listeners giving us some bold predictions. Ange Casanetti, a huge Colt fan, but the Saints are going to trash him. That is exactly correct.
I think it's Agnew.
Agnew.
Or maybe like French Agenais.
I'm going with Agenais.
I like that, actually. Yeah.
Agenais, congratulations.
Yeah, the Colts fan, well, that's unfortunate for you, but maybe they'll rebound this
But
week.
at least you're not a homer because you realize it was not going to go well. Michael tweeted at us, the Chargers will beat the Vikings by 14 points. Bolt up. Sorry, Michael. That
bolt
didn't
down.
Bolt down indeed. And then Owen McMillan had a bunch for us. Steelers over the Bills. Cowboys over the Rams. Correct. The Raiders over the Jags. Not so hot. And the upset Chargers over the Vikings. A 1-for-3 week for you, Owen. But I have a feeling you can bounce back. Hit us up in the YouTube comments, and we'll see if we can. We'll do better together.
Yeah,
it's a family show on WSN.com.
You stick to your guns, O-Dog. I like how you threw a lot of bets out there. Yeah. Cowboys over the Rams, that'll get you some money.
100%.
Yeah.
For all of our listeners living in New Jersey or West Virginia, go to WSN.com. Special bonuses and deals if you want to bet on this week's games. You can pair the best legal online sports books, get exclusive offers when you sign up, and you start betting. All that out of the way, it is time for Week 16 of the NFL season, and there are no more Thursday nighters on the board, but we have 3 Saturday games on tap. It starts with Houston at Tampa Bay, the Texans favored by 3, the over-under at 50.5 points. It's the best time for the football season, Ryan. Again, as I mentioned, no more Thursday nighters, a ton of divisional games, a trio of Saturday games. And that's a little appy, a little hors d'oeuvre to get you fired up for the Sunday schedule.
A poo-poo.
What's that?
Is that in Hawaii? They call it the poo-poo. The appetizers are poo-poos.
Well, I think you just offended our Hawaii audience if you're wrong. So I hope you're confident.
Bring back the Pro Bowl. I'm with you guys.
As for the Saturday slate, somehow the Buccaneers are becoming like must-watch football. I said it last week. You take the bad and sometimes the ugly as well as the great with Jameis Winston when you watch him chuck the ball up. Slinging the ball with ease. He's going to have some interceptions. He's going to have some touchdowns. This week it's a tough showdown against a very good Texans defense. I'm really torn to who to go for in this game. I'm not really sure. The over definitely is in play though. 50.5 points. It has now hit in 11 of Tampa Bay's last 12 games. I think you kind of just have to ride the trend at this point until it cools off. We did last week. We did the week before. As for the winner, it really could go either way, but my gut says Texans on the money line.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the Texans obviously have a hell of a lot to play for still here. And with a minimal spread, I think that's a safe call. I mean, I'm going Houston to win, Houston to cover, but it's a minimal spread, so you're almost just playing the money line essentially. But reason for that, even though, gotta throw this out there, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, don't look now, they are the hottest team in the NFC with 4 straight wins. Not too shabby, so Jameis playing for next year's contract, and he's doing okay. But if you can find yourself a prop on a Jameis pick, I mean, that's easy money right there. No problem, because he's got a pretty good average going. Not quite Phillip Rivers-esque, but it's pretty close. But it just he's losing a lot of pieces right now. Mike Evans obviously gone for the year. It looks like Chris Godwin also may be done for the year, coming off on that cart last game. Bruce Arians says the hamstring doesn't look good, quote unquote. So it's going to be a game time call, but it's not looking promising there. So yeah, I like Houston to win. So much more to play for. Playoffs on the line, division on the line. Take Houston all the way.
All right, another great game Game up next is Buffalo at New England. New England favored by 6. The over-under, pretty low, 38.5 points. Ryan, what do you make of this one?
I love the Buffalo Bills. We've been over this.
Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia, break those tables. Entering Foxborough, they are now 7-0-1 against the spread in their last 8 on the road. In this tilt, I like them to keep it close. The spread here, as you mentioned, New England by 6. I like the Pats to win because at home they're just ridiculous. That record is just astronomical. But I like the Bills to cover off, and I'm bringing them back. Cole Beasley with a nice reception prop. John Brown is going to get a ton of attention from Stephon Gilmore. Watch for Beasley to get a lot of looks, and especially if you're playing PPR league. I mean, this would probably be the finals, I guess, in your fantasy now pretty much, but Cole Beasley is going to have himself a day.
And you might be in the finals if you had Cole Beasley on your roster this year because he was sneaky solid, I like to call it.
You got to rub salt in that wound.
Oh, except for Ryan, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is another brutally tough game to break down. It is one of the games of the week, I think. Ryan was pretty bang on with his thoughts. The Bills have bought in. They're playing with confidence of a playoff team. And you kind of have to go back to like middle of November to find a Pats win that you could really feel good about, the team could feel good about. This should be a defensive battle as a result. I'm turning to a prop I've only used a handful of times this season. I'm betting the over on total field goals. I think both teams will employ their solid run defense, which keeps Sony Michel and Devin Singletary tied up. I'm avoiding both of them in daily fantasy,
Yep.
and I will echo Ryan's prediction. I think ultimately Tom Brady and the Pats win this weekend, but Buffalo will keep it close, at least close enough to cover the spread.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Why don't I set this one up for you? I'll put it on the tee.
Let's go.
Los Angeles Rams, they need something here. Against the San Francisco 49ers in Frisco. San Fran by 6.5. The over-under set at 45.
And the final game of our Saturday schedule is the Battle of Cali.
True.
It also happens to be my best bet of the week. I really like the 49ers in this one. Jared Goff proving once again he is not a road-friendly quarterback, falling flat against Dallas, and it only gets worse this weekend up against a fired-up 49ers D-corps that is fuming after they allowed those last-second touchdowns to fall to Atlanta. Good teams find a way to fix mistakes, and Kyle Shanahan's the perfect coach to get his troops motivated, cause some damage in the division. Deebo Samuel, a great option to daily fantasy on the over and prop bets for receptions and receiving yards. I'll probably snake him in both those categories. And I think San Fran just comes out firing, and they cover with ease. It is going to be the biggest blowout of the Saturday games.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where if this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, and the Rams win out, they can make the playoffs. So they're not done and dead in the water yet. But if you can't put a fight up against the Dallas Cowboys, you are not going to do it against an angry 49ers team in Santa Clara. I just don't see it happening. I like the Niners to win. I like the Niners to cover on home soil. And on the DFS side, this guy has been killing it, and I've got him in one of my pools too. He's taking me to the finals. Tyler Higbee is going to be busy in this game. However, wait till kickoff. If Gerald Everett does play, maybe avoid it altogether because there's going to be too many chefs in the kitchen. But Higbee has gone over 100 yards in 3 of his games this season. He only started a handful of games so far. So yeah, take Higbee on the DFS if Gerald Everett is out, but take the Niners regardless to win and cover.
Too many chefs in the kitchen, not cooks. It's a fancy culinary kitchen you're talking about.
Yeah. That's an Agenais original. We were chatting.
Yeah,
so.
Okay. Well, here you go. All you got to do is head to WSN.com. You get some French culinary terms, and you get extensive odds and free picks for all the major sports, state-by-state guides to find out if sports betting is legal where you live and when you can expect it to become legal. Ryan, we are now advancing to the Sunday slate of games, and what do we have on tap first?
Yeah, we got the New Orleans Saints, who are red hot, spicy hot right now against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee, in Nashville. New Orleans favored by 1.5. 1.5. And the over-under is set at 51. Drew Brees, also known as Week 15 Prop Jesus, had one hell of a week. 29 of 30, sets a brand new single-game percentage high. Unbelievable. He's working on a career year. He's not alone, though. Michael Thomas, his dominance has just continued to levels which no one has ever really seen, except for maybe Randy Moss and a handful of other guys. But in the last 12 catches again last week, 128 yards, another touchdown for this guy has been insane. Titans, yeah, they're in desperate need of a win after dropping last week. But I don't see it coming. Even though it's on home turf, that might give them a bit of an edge, but I just don't see it happening. The Saints are 5-0 against the spread and straight up in their last 5 on the road. I like New Orleans to win in this game. And it's a minimal spread, so I like them to cover as well, but it's essentially a pick 'em.
11 more receptions for Thomas to break the record. He's got 2 weeks to do it.
no problem.
Gets it done, right?
No problem.
That's a single game for him.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're afraid to go near the spread, because this is two pretty motivated teams still, even though the New Orleans pretty much, I mean, they have the division locked up, but I mean, they're still pushing. This is their last prep for the playoffs here before they bench Breeze for the last game. So yeah, if you're afraid of the spread, if you're afraid of the pick'em, go DFS. You can't go wrong with Michael Thomas.
All right. It took a few weeks longer than I would have liked based on some failed predictions on my part, but I was finally on the right side of a Titans game. I called their defeat last week, and I will double down this week with another loss for the Tennessee club. The Saints are arguably the hottest team in the league right now, and the teams have no answer for their electric offense that is clicking like at the perfect time, right? You don't want to peak too early. Oh, they're not peaking yet. They're still on the rise. As Ryan pointed out, even previous fears of Saints struggling on the road, those have been erased. Even the continued disappointing play of Alvin Kamara, the Saints still putting up the points. I think they win and cover on Sunday. And even though the Titans play the Saints well, so just a little word of caution, the Titans have won 5 of the last 6 games against the Saints, but I don't think that is a factor on Sunday because the Saints will emerge victorious. Let's keep it going with our next game. Jacksonville at Atlanta. The Falcons favored by 7.5 points. The over-under is 45.5.
Yeah, the Falcons are favored by a hefty spread here, and obviously they're at home, and I think they're good enough to hit that spread. Julio Jones. Is it Julio? Do we go Julio?
It's an Agni
It
situation.
is, right? It's pick your poison. So anyways, Jones showing that the loss of Calvin Ridley just really does not matter whatsoever. He went off last week, and Austin Hooper's just been getting healthier every single week. And he had a touchdown catch last week. I'm sorry, I know it didn't count, but that's a touchdown. I'm way more so than the Jones one at the end. But nonetheless, never mind. So I like what's going on in Atlanta right now. They seem to be on the rise, even though it really does not matter whatsoever. That season is over. But I think they're going to go out with a bang here against the Jacksonville Jaguars, in front of the home crowd, so I'm trying to say. Trying but failing. Falcons to win. I don't like the spread, but I do like the over in this game. It's hitting 5 of Jacksonville's last 6 against a team with a losing record. Meanwhile, Atlanta is 9-4 in their last 13 against a team with a losing record, hitting that over as well. So over and Atlanta.
All right. I'm still a little confused how Atlanta managed to win on Sunday. Like it should have been a beatdown by San Fran, but here we are, just a few days later. They're now favored by more than a touchdown. Like a losing team favored by more than a touchdown. All that I might have to jump on board with it though. Like as you mentioned, the Dirty Birds, like they love playing sub 500 teams. Ryan threw out some fancy trends your way. Well, I have some of my own to support my theory of an Atlanta cover. They've done so in 5 of the last 6 games against Jacksonville. As for props, the Jags bleed receiving yards to tight ends. I don't know why. It's just been a massive problem all year long. Last year, they gave up 122 reception yards to Waller with the Raiders. It could be a perfect setup for Austin Hooper to excel after getting another week to heal up from an injury that forced him to miss nearly a month. You can bet, I will be betting on Hooper on the over for receptions and look to him for a bit of a daily fantasy win as well. I think that is a sneaky tight end play.
Yeah. Hooper's been solid. He was out, and he's working his way back, getting healthier every week. I'm telling you, he had a touchdown catch last week. It should have counted.
Well, I mean, yeah. Ultimately, it didn't, but they got the win.
Exactly.
Let's keep things going. We have Baltimore at Cleveland. The Ravens favored by double digits, 10 points, the over-under 48. The Browns pretty much appearing at least to hit their breaking point on Sunday. Like an absolute brutal showing. It included sideline tirades, rumors of players actively telling the Arizona sideline, can you please trade for me? These guys have quit on Coach Freddie Kitchens, who in his post-game presser, he pretty much admitted that he's going to be fired in 2-3 weeks' time. He knows it's done. So this one should be close to free money that Baltimore cruises to a win in Ohio. The Ravens, they've won 5 straight in a row. They'll look at this game as another opportunity to kind of flex their muscle ahead of the postseason. This was actually nearly my best bet of the week. I'm taking the Ravens to cover. A great value prop to track down using WSN.com. Baltimore to score a defensive touchdown. It's definitely in play this week with Baker Mayfield throwing up some ducks, some questionable throws into coverage with more and more frequency this month. If you can find it, it's probably worth your value.
Yeah, they could have and should have kept Bob Wiley as their head coach. He was a beauty on Hard Knocks.
He's
the big boy.
He's the big boy.
Jumping jacks and sit-ups or push-ups. It was fantastic. Anyways, I really like this game for the Ravens. How can you not? I am pretty darn 99.9% sure they're going to win this. However, Even though, they said that they're going to start Lamar Jackson, you've got to think that if they're up by more than 2 scores, especially in the last, giant chunk of the fourth quarter, Lamar's coming out of that game. So I'm not entirely sure that I like the 10-point spread. I don't have that much faith in Cleveland, mind you, but nonetheless.
Just worried about garbage time points?
I'm worried about garbage time, exactly, and that's what killed me on my best bet last week. So I'm getting a little weary these days. So I like...
Hold on, sorry. Garbage time didn't kill you. Your team lost.
Well, yeah, but I still could have taken solace that on the money line had the Jacksonville Jaguars not scored. Okay?
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been too much. It would have been a little salt in the wound.
That's a little stretch, Armstrong, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm going with the stretch. That's okay. But nonetheless, I like the Ravens on the money, and just because, we got to put ourselves out there a little bit, I'm taking the over, as Baltimore has hit that in 5 of their last 6 games against AFC North opponents. Meanwhile, Cleveland's put up over 25 plus in back-to-back games, and that's huge for the Cleveland Browns right there. They've only done it one other time this season. So yeah, this one should hopefully have a big scoreboard on one side or the other, and I see the over. I feel more confident in the over I feel more confident Ravens on the money, but the over is happening too.
Over as opposed to the spread.
Yes.
All right, I respect your call. Head to WSN.com for more respected calls from experts using sportsbook reviews. It lets you compare all the best legal sport betting websites available in the United States. Ryan, what do we have for our next game?
We've got Carolina visiting Indianapolis. Indianapolis favored by 6.5 points. The over-under set at 46.5. It's all signs pointing to Will Grier getting the start for Carolina. He's back. Kyle, I gave him a nickname, but this is terrible. Kyle, I'll wake up during garbage time Allen. It'll catch on.
It's close to tool time.
It's true. It's pretty good. Anytime you can work in a tool time reference. Obviously Kyle Allen, he's going to be destined to be holding the clipboard if he's lucky next season, which is too bad because he started out so well. But nonetheless, I still like Carolina against a 6.5 point spread. Run CMC, still an absolute beast. He's going to run a train out there. I don't like Carolina to win, but I do like them to cover in Indy on Sunday. For what it's worth, the Panthers are also 4-1 in their last 5 on field turf.
Ooh.
Boom.
Hey, honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but those trends do matter sometimes.
Got to do it. Yeah.
Right?
There's something to it.
At the beginning of this season, this game was probably circled on a lot of calendars as a marquee matchup between 2 teams contending for their divisions. Instead, they're going to take to the field on Sunday, and they've combined for 10 straight losses. It's an ugly situation for both teams. Jacoby Brissett, we were high on him early in the season, but that injury has completely derailed his season. He probably shouldn't be playing right now. Combine that with a quickly shrinking offensive core that he can even throw the ball to. As Ryan just detailed, Will Grier gets the start for the Panthers. I don't know who that is. I mean, Will Grier?
He's been in for a couple garbage time minutes, and I think he might have started a game a year ago.
I still am not. Until he takes the field on Sunday, I'm very confident he doesn't exist. It won't be pretty in Indy, but somebody has to win. I think the home team probably secures the victory, having won 10 of the last 13 at home. As for props, it's also looking pretty sparse. Brissett's spreading out the ball way too much these days because of all the injuries. On Monday, 5 receivers had over 20 yards receiving, but none of them cracked over 50 yards in total. So that's an alarming trend when you're trying to figure out the overs, the unders. It's just way too unpredictable for non-playoff teams this late in the season. So I'm pretty much staying away from this game completely.
I lied to you. He was at West Virginia last season, so I also don't know who Will Grier is. I made that up. Okay.
He was West Virginia's quarterback. Good for him.
Well, there it is, right? Not too shabby.
Sorry, Will Grier fans. I apologize. But
apologies.
With the next game, we have Cincinnati at Miami. The Dolphins favored by 1 whole point. The over-under 46.5. I started this trend last week. It swept the nation. It is called the WSN Yucky Game of the Week. And I would have loved to have been in the room when the odds makers had to decide on this spread. They're like, hey, Gerald, what should we do with this one? I don't know, Tom. Just make Dolphins by 1 point. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
The odds makers' names are Tom and Jerry?
Tom and Gerald.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right.
If you call him Jerry, he flips out.
I'd get upset at that too.
yeah, especially when his best friend's name's Tom. After last week's yucky game between the Florida Fish and the Giants hitting the over, I think this weekend, a bit of a different story. I just don't think the points are there. I'm hammering the under. The trends back it up too. It's hit in 7 of the Bengals' last 8 games on the road because they simply just cannot score away from home. It's also hit the under in 5 straight when these two teams meet. As for the line of 1 point, I guess you kind of just have to go with Miami, since he's already focused on drafting Heisman winner Joe Burrow and moving on to next season.
Yeah. My sincere congratulations to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzmagic, now the leading rusher on the Miami Dolphins this season.
Those youthful legs.
Which is pretty horrible. But nonetheless, there it is. That pretty much says everything you need to know about this game, because nobody's tuning in to watch the Bengals. There's zero run game with the Miami Dolphins. I do see Devontae Parker having a decent day. He had a big one last week. But anyhow, thankfully for the Fish, they are at home where they are a scorching hot 2-5. Ooh. And the Bengals, as you mentioned, the road garbage continues. They are the only team in the league without a road win. Fish to win, Fish to cover on Sunday.
Let's keep it going. We got Pittsburgh at the New York Jets for our next one. The Steelers favored by 3 points. The over-under 38.5. And Ryan, you have a pretty solid breakdown.
Well, I hope so. The Pittsburgh Steelers are still in the running for the most unlikely of playoff appearances, while the New York Jets are in the running once again for absolutely nothing. So I've always liked Mason Rudolph going back to his OSU days, and it's extremely likely that he's going to be back in. Mike Tomlin would not commit to Hodges starting again after a horrible Phillip Rivers-esque performance. I've used that twice because he throws a lot of picks. But anyways, it looks like Hodges is going right back to the bench. It looks like Rudolph is coming right back in, and I think that's good news for the Steelers because they need this game. They still got a hell of a lot to play for there. I'm taking Pittsburgh to win, taking Pittsburgh to cover, and I mean, the Jets could pull out a surprise, as they do every now and then, but it seems to me that the later this season gets, the more that team's falling apart by the seams.
All right. So far this week, we've been pretty much on the same page with what we like. This is where we are going to differ. As I detailed last week, like what Mike Tomlin's done with the Steelers, with all the injuries, even if they miss the playoffs, he should be in the running for Coach of the Year because it's been phenomenal. That all being said, they're simply out of gas, and they've used up even the reserve tanks. They did a decent job of keeping Buffalo's offense in check, but like the mustard yellow squad could just not muster up any offense. Mustered up.
Hey, I got you. That was good. I liked it.
But as Ryan mentioned, the quarterback situation remains murky. I don't like it one bit. But as bad as the Jets are, at least I know what I'm getting with them. Like, with
I'll give you that.
I don't. The Steelers quarterback's name is Duck.
It's because he keeps throwing ducks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not a quarterback nickname you should embrace.
No.
I know that's not why his name is Duck, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I like the Jets in this one on home field in a low-scoring battle. Pittsburgh's pass defense allowing an extra 70 yards a game away from Heinz Field. So look for Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder to capitalize. I am taking Crowder on the over for receptions and Anderson on the over for receiving yards.
Nice. Very nice. Well, next up, another New York squad here. We've got the Giants taking on the Redskins. Skins favored by 2.5 at home. Over-under set at 42. What do you make of it?
Well, in a week of pretty promising divisional battles and playoff matchups, this is not one of those teams.
No, it's not.
Two non-playoff teams. Both teams expected to make wholesale changes over the winter and into the spring. So there's not really a lot to play for. It looks like Daniel Jones returns, allowing Eli Manning to keep his career record of 500 football intact. Outside of that, the only thing of interest for me is kind of a random one, but the play of Steven Sims. Someone I've never really even heard of until a few weeks ago, quickly becoming a favorite of quarterback Dwayne Haskins. The 22-year-old undrafted rookie saw 11 targets last week while hauling in his first receiving touchdown. So the only thing I'm going to do in this game is I might dabble on the over for receptions for the youngster and kind of see what happens.
Yeah, you could make some decent money there. On DFS, he would be dirt cheap as 100%. Well. That's a great call. As you mentioned, this is a total who cares game. The only thing is if Daniel Jones is ready, don't save him. Put him in. Let Eli end his career. He will never have a better send-off than beating Miami last week at home. The crowd was into it. A crowd showed up for some reason. Just let that happen because if he is put in this game, if they play Eli in this game, it's against a team that hates him on the road, a division rival. It's going to be a horrible send-off for a guy who deserves better. I don't love Eli, but I hope the best for these kind of guys. He looks like a good fella. Anyways, that has nothing to do.
He looks like kind of a good fella.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with who I'm taking in this game. I'm taking Skins to win, Skins to cover. If Daniel Jones is in, I think it'll be a closer, tighter matchup. With that spread as well, I mean, it's not astronomical. It's 2.5 points. I like watched it at home. Dwayne Haskins, he's starting to turn a corner here. I'm starting to trust this guy a little bit, slightly. But I think on the DFS side, even though it's going to, well, maybe not DFS because he's going to cost quite a bit. But on the prop side, if you can find something for Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, jump all over that. He's going to have another big game.
All right, head to WSN.com. Tons of betting guides for beginners and anyone really wanting to learn more about strategy and how sports betting works. We are now onto our afternoon slate of games, I believe, Ryan?
We are.
What do we got?
Welcome to the PM. We got Detroit at Denver. Broncos favored by 6.5. Over-under set at 38. The Denver Broncos fooled everyone. You included, my friend, 2 weeks ago? I don't know what it was, but you trusted in Drew Lock.
2 weeks ago, they crushed the Houston Texans, yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, so never mind. It was last week. We've trusted in Drew Lock. There was one game I thought you liked him.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? Damn.
No,
anyway,
2 weeks ago they proved me wrong because I was completely against them, and then they.
Oh, okay. Well, he's gonna play with your emotions again.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, they put up a stinker last week in Kansas. Luckily for them, though, they're playing the lowly Lions. Led by a rookie quarterback themselves who is just not getting the job done. Home field advantage isn't usually that meaningful for these kind of caliber teams, but I think it might pay off in this one. I like Courtland Sutton. I like how Locke is also getting Noah Fant into the game a little bit more as well. The offense is starting to click a little bit, and I think it gives them the slight edge. I like the Broncos to win. I also like them to cover as well. I'm not as confident in the cover, but I see it happening. I see Courtland Sutton visiting pay dirt a few times in this game.
All right. Yeah, I wouldn't say last week's beat down in the hands of Casey. It's not exactly shocking. Like, rookie's first real tough test against a tough defense, and it was in a snowstorm. Like, that wasn't going to go well from the start.
That's fair. Yeah.
We detailed last week that they needed a hot start, but also we didn't see this giant snowstorm coming in.
Yeah.
5-6 days out. At least when you fall off the ladder, though, there's like a nice soft cushion to catch you, and that is the Detroit Lions.
I do like soft cushions.
Soft cushions are fantastic. These chairs, primo. WSN spared no expense on these chairs. It should be a confidence boosting game for Locke. In fact, like, the Lions already counted down the days until the new year, hoping they can just wake up from the nightmare of 2019. And I love what Ryan threw out there as the players to watch this game. I think Courtland Sutton's in line for a huge day, especially after I watched Chris Godwin torch the Lions secondary last week. And I think Noah Fant should not be fantastic. I don't know where I was going with that one, but I'm taking him on the over for receptions. That's what's really important because the Leos have been exposed often this season on third and shorts across the middle, so expect a lot of targets headed his way. We keep it going. We got Oakland at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers favored by 5.5 points. The over-under set at 46. And another game that early in the season had the potential to really mean something. And now it's week 16, and it's pretty clear it's just another game. It is the last ever California clash between these two teams, with Oakland off to Vegas, and it's going to go out with a whimper. Derek Carr and the Raiders blew an easy win over Jacksonville, while the Chargers decided to play one quarter of football, and then they thought it was, we'll pack it up against the playoff team. It was a bold strategy. It didn't really go well. This week, I think we should see some points on the board, though. Their seasons are over. They don't care at this point. Just give us some fireworks. I will be taking the over in this game, despite nearly every betting trend suggesting under is the real play. I'm just going to roll the dice on it. I'm feeling good. I am staying away from the battered and bruised Josh Jacobs. He should not be playing, even though he is. I will be taking the over on Austin Eckler receptions and betting on a Melvin Gordon touchdown parlayed with a Chargers win.
Oh, there you go. With 12 interceptions in his last 5 games, I think the world is starting to finally see what I've been talking about all these years. I mean, the guy is 38 years old. I mean, given years ago, he's still in his mid-30s, but he's 38 years old. We're starting to see that he's...
guy.
Yeah, well, there it is. He's not an ageless wonder like a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees. Phillip Rivers is starting to show a lot of wear and tear on those tires, and a lot of these picks are coming from just these giant moonball prayers that he's throwing up, too. It's absolutely terrible, but I think that this likely will be his last home game, if we can call it a home game, in Chargers colors. I mean, who are we kidding? This is actually the Raiders' last home game. We should have mentioned that off the top. But anyhow, so with that said, though, I think that he's going to put up a decent performance. I think the Chargers will win. I'm taking them to cover as well. If he puts up a stinker, Anthony Lynn, I'm hoping, I'm praying, get Tyrod and Easton Stick into your final game. See what you have in these guys before obviously drafting a quarterback in the spring. But yeah, I'm taking the Chargers to win, the Chargers to cover.
All right. We got Arizona at Seattle for our next game. The Seahawks favored by 9.5 points. The over-under is 50.5.
Yes, and this we mentioned it last week. We've got the live Google Drive going on, and you can always see my best bet changing within every single 10 minutes. I'm changing my best bet. It's ridiculous. I'm on the hot seat. You said these seats are comfortable. They are, but this one's hot. We tell you.
The Google Doc was locked and loaded last night, and then I see a live edit, and he typed, "I'm changing it again."
Yeah, absolutely. So I love the Seahawks in this game, obviously, but they're favored by 9.5. That is a bit of a hefty one, and it's tough to trust right now after a huge performance again from Kenyon Drake. And the reason that I don't like that spread is because the Seahawks, their run defense has not been amazing, and if Kyler Murray can connect even a little bit over the top, and you just complement it with that run, Seattle could see a big scoreboard coming their way. So I do like Seattle to win on the money. The over is extremely enticing. With that said, it's gone over in 4 of Arizona's last 5 in Seattle. It's hit 9 of Arizona's last 13 against a winning home record. Seattle has also hit the over in 8 of their last 10 against a team with a losing record. So these two are destined for a hell of a lot of points this weekend.
All right. I have a little bit more faith in Seattle than you do on this one, Ryan. I think that they kind of view this as a statement game ahead of Week 17 showdown with the 49ers. Seattle controls its own destiny in the race for divisional title. I just can't imagine the Seabirds taking their foot off the gas if they build an early lead, which they've been known to do this season. I think they build a lead and then they just keep going. It's a little concerning the Cardinals play out in the Pacific Northwest. They've covered the spread in 5 of the last 6 against Seattle. I just still think I like Russell Wilson and his crew to take care of business. I mean, they want that NFC West title. I know it really probably comes down to Week 17 against San Fran, but this is a good statement game, a little shot saying, hey, don't mess with us because we are coming for the playoffs. What is on tap for our next game there, buddy?
We've got Dallas at Philadelphia. This is a huge one. This is absolutely massive. This is essentially the playoffs right here. Who's moving on here out of this division? Dallas at Philly. Cowboys favored by 2.5. Over under set at 46.5.
It is hard to call this one the game of the week. When week after week we've both pointed out these teams are not that good.
No.
So it's kind of funny that in a couple of weeks, one of these teams will be hosting a playoff game. I used the word too much. Bonkers. It is bonkers. In the end, though, yucky. I already used my yucky designation for the week, so we'll have to wait for Week 17. Maybe it'll include one of these two. I think you kind of have to go with the Cowboys here. Philly ravaged by injuries on the offense. Their defense looking very questionable against Washington. As for Dallas, things finally turning around as Ryan and I both predicted last week in a pick'em game against the Rams. I think you just kind of got to give some love to Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott. They love the pressure of big games. Their division's pretty much up for grabs here, so the intensity will be high. I like the Cowboys to become cowmen and win and cover in Philly.
That was beautifully done. It's a very minimal spread, and I mean, this game in all likelihood will decide who takes the division and who moves on to the playoffs. Who wants it more? That's what it comes down to, and I think I'm with you. It's going to be the Dallas Cowmen. I like Dak more than I do Carson. I like Zeke more than I do Miles Sanders, even though I will admit, I'll give credit where credit's due. You've been riding that Miles Sanders train, and he's been killing it for you,
I've been riding it for miles.
Yeah. Wow. I was almost going to get up and leave. That was just end the show on that. That was an Eli Manning ending right there. Nicely done. But yeah, I like Dallas to win. I like Dallas to cover. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm jumping on it. I'm jumping on the Miles train. These past few weeks, this guy's been a prop and DFS magician. How can you not go with that? The guy's a beauty. But unfortunately, his team's going to lose.
All right, we're down to the final few games. We have Kansas City at Chicago. KC favored by 5 points. The over-under is 45. And Ryan, your best bet of the week.
This is my best bet of the week. I got tired of taking teams that either have losing records or were just a hunch pick. I've made a lot of register impulse buys here in the best bet category, but this time I'm going safe. And with a spread of just 5 points, this is KC's last primer with a full first-string squad before they enter the playoffs. Next week, they're going to be benching a ton of their starters. So, I like KC to win. I like them to cover. Yeah, fair enough. They're at Soldier Field. Things get a little chilly in Chicago, but as you saw last week, amidst a blizzard, KC can still get the job done. Patrick Mahomes, man, he does it all. And I like him as my best bet. Like him to win. Like him to cover on the road.
All right. Well, last week, I definitely mocked your best bet pick. But this one, you're on the right track, buddy. I'm very confident KC covers this game. Their defense expected to be among the league's best this year. They started a little slow, but it's finally trending in the right direction. Combine that with the Bears' offense that bears no resemblance to that of the Chiefs' explosive weapons. you have the makings of a blowout for this one. Even if KC puts up some points, I still like the under because I just don't think Chicago can score. The under's hit in the last 5 times these two teams have met at Chicago, and the Bears have hit the under in 8 of the last 10 home games. So I will be taking the under, and I'm taking a KC blowout win and a cover there.
Very nice.
I kind of wish that was my best bet. You know what? Good on you, sir.
Thank you.
Here we go. Final game of the night, and it is the Monday night football game. Green Bay at Minnesota. Minnesota favored by 4.5 points. The over/under is 45.5. I threw out a couple times during this WSN Pick'em show that there's a few game of the week contenders. This is the clear-cut winner, and we have to wait till Monday to see it. This could be an all-out brawl in Minnesota with the division pretty much on the line. Both teams have the benefit of easy Week 17 matchups, too, so this one will be treated like a playoff game. Little surprised the spread's so high. I thought maybe it'd be in the field goal range. Yeah. The odds maker showing a lot of love for the Vikings, but I will let my Green Bay bias slip through a little and say I'm leaning towards a Packers cover, and why not even a Packers win. Minnesota's secondary has been really bad for a 10-win team. I expect Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams to exploit that on Monday, even if Adams draws a tough assignment and Xavier Rhodes, who's had an off year. Sure, the Vikings are undefeated at home this season, but the thing that really tipped it in my favor, Kirk Cousins is 0-8 in his career on Monday Nighter. So
you like that?
You like that? I like that because it can't be a fluke. 0-8, take Green Bay to win.
Yeah, those numbers are not on my side here with my pick. But, I think that spread, even though I'm taking Minnesota to cover that, I think it will come down. I think odds makers, line makers, they saw the huge win in Los Angeles last week and were like, oh, man, these guys are back. It's not every day you get 7 turnovers in a game from the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, you do from the Chargers, but most other teams, that doesn't usually happen. So, anyways, I don't see it going that way, but I like Aaron Jones. We've talked about him a lot on this show. I like Devontae Adams, but I'm worried because I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to show up, which Aaron Rodgers is going to show up. The guy that's confident, the guy that looks like a Hall of Famer and just dominates, or the guy that, looks like he's a chicken with his head cut off running around in the pocket back there. So that's why I like Minnesota in this game, and of course the home record supports that argument. But yeah, I'm going to throw an asterisk out there. All right? I'm going to get...
Fair enough.
I told you off air. I like to live dangerously. Danger's my middle name.
You've never said that to me.
Yeah, Tom's got it in the minutes over there. If Dalvin Cook plays, because he got a little dinged up last week, if he plays, I like Minnie to cover. If he doesn't, I like Green Bay to beat that 4.5 point spread, but I still like Minnie on the money line. Yeah, Dalvin Cook, there's a bit of an asterisk there. It'll be a game time decision in this one. But either way you slice it on the money line, I like Minnesota to win. And by saying that, I like Kirk Cousins to go to the playoffs. That just feels weird to say.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like that, but I think you win some money on it.
Well, there you go. Week 16. It was a very busy week. It should be a great lineup of games. You've heard our predictions. Now we want to hear from you. As we mentioned off the top, give us your wildest predictions for Week 16, and we will discuss the top comments in next week's video. We don't want, the Ravens will cover the 10 or they'll win on the money line. No.
Yeah.
Throw some randoms out there.
I want an agene of picks.
100%. Hit us up. And be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and on WSN.com for all our weekly NFL predictions, as we only have one more week in the regular season. And I think it's time, before we get out of here, to recap our best bets of the week. Ryan, what do you got?
Yeah, Kansas City, they're on their way as we speak to the beautiful city of Chicago, Illinois, and I like them to win. I like them to cover. It's not a huge spread. It's a 5-pointer. Chicago, I guess they've earned a little bit of respect with their play of the last few weeks, but still, I do not trust these guys. They haven't beaten a team of Kansas caliber. That is my lock of the week.
Completely.
And you, sorry, I didn't tee you up.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say that, behind the scenes, Tom and Josh and myself and all the gentlemen behind here, there's hundreds behind the scenes here.
It's a live studio audience.
Live studio audience. They're all Price is Right showdown going on here. We all snicker behind your back. That's your best bet of the week. We all agree. We all gave you a hearty handshake and said congratulations, because I think it is a winner. My best bet of the week, the 49ers to cover 6.5 points against the Rams. It's that Saturday game. It's a primetime California matchup. I think San Fran's just so angry after a bad loss to Atlanta. They bounce back and they send a statement game. Plus, as I've learned on a horrible way many times, don't take Jared Goff on the road, because I've done it too many times. It's disaster waiting to happen. So San Fran, my best bet of the week.
That's fair.
All right, week 16 in the books. All we got to do is kind of sit back and enjoy some football. 3 games Saturday, a bunch on Sunday, and 1 game Monday, and we'll be back with you next week for our final regular season week of WSN Pick'em. Adam Forsyth, Ryan Sullivan. See you next week.